1, 2.
Okay, here we go. Ready? Everybody. Happy anniversary to you. Happy anniversary to you. Happy anniversary, dear mother and father. Happy anniversary, 50. 50 years. Okay, I'll start with the first story.
First story to Walter Jr.
I'll tell you about the time that the four of us were upstairs on Gower Road, and Linda was causing all sorts of havoc. And Gramp hollered up about 15 times, "If you don't shut up, I'm going to come up and beat the living
Yes, that's
out of you." And sure enough, he did. Well, he took off his belt and he whacked me 10 times. Then he whacked Bob and Dick 5 times each because he figured the IQ level was about the same if you added them up. And then he went down the hall and he said to Linda, "I'm going to clap my hands and you holler." "Oh! Oh, Dad, don't hit me so hard! Oh!" And the bad thing about it was that Linda told us later that that's what he did.
Yeah.
Talk to those kids! Hi, kids!
Well, I remember some very good things about our growing up, but I can't remember what year it was that I remember those good things. Now, we had a wonderful experience growing up in your household, and I remember one thing is that we always had lots of kids around, and I think that's probably the best thing. And I remember on Lake Wacabuck, Mother doing the rub-a-dub-dub, and we also did the Seven Dwarfs, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and it was a lot of fun.
Talk to the kids! Hi, kids! Okay, Richard.
I think I had a much harder childhood than the rest of these.
Yeah, but you got the pork chop.
I just remember when I was a child, well, later on in life, that I would, especially Saturday mornings, I would be awakened very abruptly by my mother pulling on my ear about something that I had done. I remember on my 18th birthday, she gave me a brand new pair of loafers, and that was on a Friday night, and I left, and I went out on a motor scooter with Winton Rossiter, and we got to the top of Weed Street, and we were going down the hill about 45 miles an hour, and the brakes gave out, and all the way down I told Winton, "Put your feet on the ground," and we skidded all the way down, rock and rolling all the way down to Weed Street, and we finally stopped, and I went home, and the next morning my mother had me by the, "What did you do to those shoes? What? Where did you walk to? Those are brand new shoes, they have holes in them." And I remember one other time when she woke me up with the same, it's always my right ear like this, and she woke me up to say, "What did you do to my car? What did you do to my car?" She had a brand new Volkswagen station wagon,
No, it was a convertible.
and she took me and she went over and grabbed Bob and, "What did you do to my car? Which one of you did something to my car?" She, "Get dressed, you're going down to see your father. You go down to see your father." So she went, we got dressed. We didn't say anything to each other because we didn't know what was going on. And she put us in the car, and the convertible top was down, and it was a June morning, and it was a beautiful day, and she was beet purple because she showed us in getting in that there was a hole, there was a dent like a bowl in the right back of her fender on her brand new car. And she was beet purple, and she sat us both in the back of the Volkswagen, and she just started driving down South Avenue, gesticulating wildly. "Wait till your father hears this, I'm going to take you, your father's going to ground you, I've never heard anything like this in my life." And all these people walking along South Avenue just were totally astounded, I'm sure, at this. But Bob and I just sat looking forward. We didn't say anything. And she just waved her arms going. And she got down to the store, and she pulled in around the circle, and she said, "You just sit right here. I'm going in to get your father." So as she was sitting there, Bob said, "What happened?" And I said, "I'm not really sure." And then I remembered that I was at a party the night before, and some hoods from Norwalk had followed me out, and I was seated with Jay Jordan, and they followed us out lights went on just as we got out, and then we're driving down 123, and they got really close behind me, so I took a right turn, unfortunately into a cul-de-sac, and they came right up behind us, so I kind of panicked, and I ran to the back, and I started screaming and yelling at them. They jumped out of the car, and everybody was screaming and yelling, and then I remembered, out of the corner of my eye, one of them went by, and Jay Jordan caught his arm, and the kid went all the way around in a big circle, and his head went right into the back of the fender, and made this little, and then I figured out that was his head that made the bowl. So I told Bob that, and he said, well, let me see, let me get out. And meanwhile, Mother's in the store on a Saturday morning, and he said, you mean a bowl right
And
here?
I was working in the store, by the way.
Right. And the fender was right there with a perfect bowl, and he said, you mean that one right there? And he leaned over, and he popped it, and it just came back perfectly. It was just popped out, and it was gone. And we both looked at each other in astonishment, didn't say anything, got back, sat in the car, and here comes Mother. I think she was grabbing my Dad by the ear, going, where do you see what they done? Where do you see? And Dad's going, Audrey, this is, Saturday. Can't we talk about this later? Yes, so see what they did? And she looked, and there was nothing there, and Dad just said, can I go back to the store? And she shut up, got into the car, didn't say anything, drove us back. We sat in the back, didn't say anything, drove right down South Avenue, this time, quiet as a mouse, no problem, put us in the car, never said anything to me ever again about that. And that's my story about my mother and my right ear.
Talk to the kids, Walter!
Kids!
Go ahead, Linda.
Well, I don't tell stories.
You don't tell stories?
I want to say one thing. My life was uneventful. I was the perfect kid, caused no problems, and did nothing interesting. Go to the next one.
Okay, Uncle Bob.
Well, I just, Uncle Dick and I most of the time got along very well. But one time, Uncle Dick and I got into a fight. And I put a...
Hey, just shut this camera off.
Wait, this is a true story. I remember this.
I put a little dent on Uncle Dick's nose, but Uncle Dick put a big black eye on me. And Mother came in as her usual, get up, get up, get up!
Running the vacuum, right in your ear.
She rolled me over, and there was a big black eye. What happened to you? And I said, well, I got into a little tuffle and everything. Well, where was Dick? Where was Dick? Why didn't he help you? And I said, well, actually, he did help.
I remember.
He started it, though.
Yeah. I remember the story about when they were out at Beloit playing football, and one of them, who got the nose broke?
Oh, I got my nose broken.
Richard got his nose broken, and one of their friends got a broken leg. So they both went to the hospital, and the doctor set this guy's leg, and then he fixed Dick's nose. He went, and the next morning, Bobby went to the hospital to see the guy with the broken leg. And the doctor came by, and he said to him, God, I never saw a nose heal like that in my life. And Bobby, what'd you say to him? That you're a hell of a doctor.
I said he stood on his head all night. It's a medical miracle.
One thing I think to draw a little parallel, when we were growing up, it really was great, and all of our friends were always allowed in the house, and in fact they
couldn't
were
keep 'em
able
out.
to eat anything. And to this day, all of our friends say that they want to bring their kids up like you two brought us up.
And
Lord only knows why.
And to this day, all you have to do is look at Tom or Gord or Jay Jordan or Alex Reed, and they take out the garbage. Right?
That's true.
Oh, to tell something?
I don't have any stories. What do you think?
I think I have some more stories, but they're not true.
I don't know.
How about Rex?
Oh, about Rex and
Rex. You remember Rex?
Rexy Boom Boom. How we didn't really pay any attention to him, and the leeches used to feed him and everything. And Gordon Wood used to come over and open the door and say, "Go home, Rexy," and he'd go right across the street.
But what's Dad's trick with a dog? Dad used to think he was the smartest dog.
Because he put the ball on his nose, and the dog would go. Right?
That's right.
Oh, I can remember Rexy Boom Boom. Yeah, one time I remember being out in the lawn, and Mother was raking, and we were were all fixing things up, and Rexy Boom Boom was a little puppy, and he picked up a rat, and he went toward Mother in great pride to give her the rat. She was running all over the place, screaming and yelling, and the more she would scream and get excited, the more Rexy Boom Boom would want to get closer to her with this big rat in his mouth.
You know, Rex's claim to fame was that his brother belonged to Joe DiMaggio, and that was, that's why Dad liked the dog. Besides that, he could catch him. Right?
Two.
What else did we got?
I remember Christmases with all of our
Right.
relatives.
All our relatives,
Would come
all
over.
the Irishmen, and all we ever got for Christmas was a pair of pajamas, right? And none of us wore pajamas, right? That's all we ever, from Bloomingdale's. I remember that.
That was fun. See all of our relatives, and in the morning, then Nana would sit there with all the presents, pretending that we still believed in Santa Claus when we were 13, and we always said, because we get one from Nana and one from Santa Claus, so you didn't.
You didn't push it.
13 years old, sure I believe in Santa Claus. I think it was 18.
Walter, talk to the kids. Hi, kids.
Hi, kids. Oh, I remember. Oh, that's Nana.
Yeah, those were good.
I remember one time when. I shouldn't say that. These kids are gonna watch. That's the end.
Tell about the time when we went on the vacation.
Oh.
We went as far as the road could go to the north.
Right, I remember that.
Do you remember that?
Sure,
time?
there were the four of us and our mom and dad, and we were in a 1950 Ford station wagon, which was hardly big enough to hold us. And I kept getting car sick. And Dad had the ulcer, and he was drinking that sour milk. Remember, the whole car smelled like sour milk.
Oh, you spit out the window.
Yeah.
Hi, hey.
Oh,
He also got the car up to 80 miles an hour. And Mother'd say, slow it down, Walter, slow it down.
we were going on this gravel road that went to the North Pole or someplace. Remember, we stopped at someplace to eat, and it was all French Canadians. They didn't speak English. We were so far gone into the woods. And so the only word I think Mother knew in French was l'œuf, the egg. We all had to have an egg sandwich. Remember that? Drove up there, and we went on those vacations. Remember the time we went with Catherine came over and Jeannie, and then Mother decided she needed a mother helper. She had Barbara Devereaux. And the four of us, and we went up to Howe Cavern. We stayed in the tackiest places. I mean, they were so bad.
Spider.
Oh,
webs.
Spiderville.
Oh, spider webs. I can
I mean,
still
it was
smell that place.
And Dad, I remember Mother saying later, you know, he sent his wife, his two cousins, and Barbara, and the four kids, and he gave Mother $50 and said, "Go have a good time." That's how that went. We were gone for a week. He was living it up. You know, he said, "That's the best $50 I ever spent in my life."
Yeah,
And we were staying
We
in
had
places.
peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in the back of the car, and we'd stop, and she'd whip up some peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and feed us,
Horrible.
and off we'd go.
It was awful.
I always thought Dad was a good dad. Remember when he had that guy take us down to Yankee Stadium?
Johnny Umba.
Johnny Umba went 105 miles. Whoever knew that Dad's station wagon would
Would
do
go
105 miles an hour down to Yankee Stadium? Johnny Umba, bright move, Dad.
And we were coming. I remember that. We were coming back up the Parkway. You know, he says, "How do we get to Lake Wakaba?" Because we were staying at the lake.
We'd already passed it by the time he said it. Ugh.
Go way back. Do you remember in Hoyt Street when we'd all have dinner, and we'd always have Sunday dinner, lunch or dinner and everything, and we were not allowed to leave the table until everything was eaten, and that included squash. And I can remember sitting there, we'd bring bread out, we'd put peanut butter on the bread. We were not allowed to leave until we ate everything.
It was kind of funny because when Linda and I were in junior high school, we used to have every Sunday night. That was back in the good days, you know, when we used to eat well. And every Sunday night at that time, you know, I guess things were going okay in the store. We had a roast beef, and Mother would cook. I don't think she knows how to cook a roast beef anymore, but she would cook about a 7-rib roast with the roast potatoes. And they sent a guy down from Yale Divinity School to teach the kids in junior high school, you know, whatever that was called, you know, the church thing. And Lynn and I went, and this guy kept showing up, and, you know, I mean, there were the 6 of us and this apprentice minister, and he was a skinny little guy, and he could eat as much as anybody else. And I
He
was
kept showing up just around dinner time?
yeah, no, he would come down. I mean, they did it on a rotating basis, but this one guy kept coming down. And about 7 years later, I was at Brown University, and I met the chaplain of Brown University, and he said to me, you know, where are you from? I said, New Canaan. He said, what's your name? And I said, Stewart. He says, you know, I used to come down to New Canaan. He said, I ate enough on Sunday to last me all week long. Charlie Chaplin, that's true. Charlie Baldwin.
Well, we all did sit down at dinner every single night.
We sat down at
Dad
dinner.
walked in and we had dinner at 6:30.
6:22.
6:22. And
Every
Dick
day.
always got the pork chop. Talk to those kids.
Hi, kids.
Yeah, I don't think you ought to make fun of my mother, though.
Why?
I think she's a very good mom. You know, she taught us a lot of reading books, and actually we owe, at least I think we owe a debt of gratitude to both of them, because there's that old saw about parenting that you can get very guilty about setting a good example, and I really,
And they never did.
well, no, they did, but it didn't do any good. So I don't worry about it as a parent.
Okay, let's.
Okay.
Happy
Not for me.
50th anniversary.
To the best.
Thank you.
And by the way, we got you a special present. It's a small Cocker Spaniel. And Mom, when you get home, it's going to be there.
Okay.
All right.
That's enough, huh?